and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Cassidy from Cassidyreads, and today I have my very first recommendations video. Now, I asked over on my Instagram, Cassidyreads, what video you would like to see, and I gave a poll, and the two choices were enemies to lovers / hate to love, or sports romances, and enemies to lovers was the winner. And of course, I will definitely be doing a sports romance in my video for next week because these are two of my favorite tropes, so I have a lot of books to share for both choices. So let's get on with this video. Now, I will be showing all of the books that I have already read. I know there's a bunch of books that I haven't read that are on my TBR, like The Hating Games, that is Enemies to Lovers, but I just wanted to recommend the ones that I have already read. Now, the first book that I have to recommend is probably no surprise to anybody who follows me on my Instagram or who has watched my previous videos, but that is We Shouldn't by Vi Keelan. Vi Keelan and her co-written books with Penelope Ward, a lot of them are enemies to lovers or the hate to love, but I really enjoyed this one when I read it last year, and I just enjoyed this book a lot more over their other enemies to lovers, even though, don't get me wrong, I love all of their books and I pretty much rate all of their books 5 out of 5 stars, but this one was just really good to me. This follows Bennett and Annalise. Their companies have merged into one company, so now they have to work together, and basically they have to come up with pitches to see who is going to run their pitch, and so they have to do that, and there's a lot of angst in here as well as extreme theme like any other Vi Keelan or Penelope Ward book, and I just loved this book. It was really funny. It was dual point of view, so I loved hearing Bennett's side of things because he was kind of a jerk, but it was kind of funny to read his thoughts because he knew that he was a jerk and he knew he was being mean to Annalise, but loved this book and I highly recommend it. Like I said, it is also an office romance, just like a lot of these that I do mention in this book are the office romance enemies to lovers, so highly recommend this if you haven't read it before. The next book is probably also, again, no surprise to anybody who follows me on my Instagram, but that is Checkmate, This Is War by Kennedy Fox. I absolutely love Kennedy Fox. This is the first book in the Checkmate series, as well as this duet. The second book in this duet is This Is Love. This is also under the brothers best friends trope, but I think it's a great enemies to lovers book. It's just so funny. It's got a lot of steam, obviously a lot of angst, but it's super cute, and this follows Travis and Viola, and I just loved this book. Highly recommend it. I know not a ton of people know who Kennedy Fox is or they haven't read them yet, so highly recommend reading them, especially for this trope. The third book that I have to show is also an MM romance, but it definitely falls in the hate to love category, and that is Top Secret by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. This did come out this year, and it's the return of their MM romances. They haven't come out with one in 3 years, so this was the return for them. This was so cute. It was a new adult romance between Keaton and Luke. One of them is looking for a threesome because he currently has a girlfriend and his girlfriend's interested in one, and the other one is a male dancer, swoony, and they are actually frat brothers and they live in the same house and they don't realize until later on in the book, but it was super cute, and especially if you enjoy the MM romance, I really enjoyed this because it was the hate to love, and I mean, like any other book that I'm going to keep saying it in this video, I loved the angst to this, and it was just adorable, and I love their MM romances. So if you haven't read this yet, highly recommend it. The next book that I have to talk about is definitely on my top 10 romances. I loved this book when I read it last year for the first time, and I haven't actually reread it yet, and I really want to, especially because a sequel is coming out next year in March, and that is The Simple Wilds by K.A. Tucker. This follows Calla and Jonah. Calla has recently moved or just came to visit her dad in Alaska, and she meets Jonah, who is a pilot, and this is their romance. It is amazing. Literally, every time somebody says, like, oh, what are your favorite romances? Like, if that's a question on Instagram, I either say this or On the Island by Tracy Garvis Graves. I love this book. I cannot wait for the sequel. I cannot wait to see where things head with Calla and Jonah, and I'm just so grateful for this book. Again, it wasn't really enemies to lovers, but it was in the hate to love category, and this book is just so angsty, and you just can't wait for them to get together, and it was just so good. Highly recommend if you haven't read it before. And definitely reread it or read before the book comes out. March 3rd, 2020. Wild at Heart is the second book in this series. And I can't wait for it to come out. The next book is no surprise to this video and no surprise to being a great book. I read this past year, and that is The Kiss Thief by L.J. Shen. This follows Francesca and Wolf. Francesca is set to marry someone else. His name is Angelo, and she wants to give him her first kiss, but Wolf winds up taking it instead, so she winds up marrying him. So this is kind of like a mafia, powerful family kind of romance. I did really enjoy this. This was definitely different than anything I usually read, so I think that's also why I enjoyed it, and because it's L.J. Shen. Come on, she's amazing. But this was just really good. Again, enemies to lovers, or more love to hate, hate to love. And this was just so good. I really liked this. Like I said, it was so different than any really romance that I've read before. And I actually won this paperback in a giveaway recently, but I read the ebook about a few months ago. Really enjoyed this. Highly recommend, especially if you're looking for something that's not really just contemporary or in the normal NA or YA, or just, and you're looking for that love to hate, angsty, kind of bickering and fighting. Highly recommend this book or anything by L.J. Shen. Next book that I have to recommend, of course, is another new adult romance, and this is a sports romance, so I'm not going to mention it in next week's video, but I highly recommend it as a hate to love romance, and that is The Risk by Elle Kennedy. This is the second book in the Briar U series. They can be read as standalones, but I do kind of recommend you reading the series. The first book in this series was called The Chase, and I loved this book. So far, it is my favorite in this series, now that there are 3 books, because the play just came out last week in this series, and I just loved this book. This is kind of like rivals, because they're on different schools. So this follows Brenna and Jake. Jake is part of the Harvard team, and Brenna's dad coaches for Briar U. I loved this book. It was just, she was so sassy and just so funny. Jake, of course, was swoony because he's a hockey player, and I love my hockey romances. But this was just super cute. I liked the rivals, and I liked how they kind of connected, and they tried to act like they didn't really have feelings for each other, but they definitely did. So I highly recommend this, especially if you've read the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy, because this is the kind of companion series or spin-off series to the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy, and I love this book. Again, favorite one in the series so far, and I highly recommend it. And I'm not usually into a lot of new adult. I'm getting more kind of out of that just because I'm not really in college anymore, so I don't really read it as much, but I love this book. Highly recommend it. Of course, I do also recommend the Off-Campus series, but the last book I have to share with you, I read as an ARC book over the summer, and this was my first book by this author that I really enjoyed, so then I started getting more into her books, and a lot of her books are also in that kind of hate to love category, or really angsty, and that is Cold Hearted Boss by R.S. Gray. I loved this book. This follows Ethan and Taylor. Taylor is our main character, and she is looking to get a new job because she needs money for her family, and she winds up pretending to be a guy and working as a construction worker at this site that Ethan is renting, and he obviously finds out that she's a woman, and she doesn't realize it at first, but it's super funny. A lot of R.S. Gray's books are really funny, which I like, so it's more of your rom-coms, but like I said, it is in the hate to love trope. It's funny watching them bicker and pretend to annoy each other and things like that. I loved this. Again, it's more in the office romance, kind of workplace tropes as well, but it definitely follows in the hate to love category. I love this. Again, it was super funny, and I'm not usually into rom-coms, so once in a while you'll need a really good rom-com, and this was definitely one of them. Just like a lot of S. Gray's books, like Hot Doc or something. Yeah, Hot Doc. I read that one after reading this one, and that one's also kind of the hate to love workplace as well, and it was really funny, just like any other R.S. Gray's books, but highly recommend this one. It's fast-paced too, so it's easy to read, and it was just a lot of fun to read. I really enjoyed it, and I hope to read a lot more S. Gray's books in the future, because they really did entertain me. I wouldn't read them like all the time because I'm not into rom-coms, but highly recommend this one. So that is it for the hate to love / enemies to lovers recommendations. I hope to do a lot more recommendations in videos in the future. I will definitely continue to talk about the synopsis and things like that, and maybe my ratings. I'm still trying to get a hang of these videos, but I'm super happy that I did my first recommendations video, and stay tuned for next week for my sports recommendations. I'm so excited. I hope I have a lot more on that recommendations video that not maybe a lot of people know about. I'm definitely going to not include Elle Kennedy again, since I did talk about her a couple times. Maybe I'll talk about Saria Bowen and a bunch of other amazing authors that write sports romances. I'm so excited for that video, and I hope you watch it. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to follow me on my Instagram at Cassidyreads and subscribe, and like or comment on this video what your favorite enemies to lovers books are. Now, I know I didn't mention a couple because I haven't read them yet, and I didn't really want to talk about them yet since I really don't know that much about them, like the Unhoneymooners or the Hating Games or things like that. So if you have any other great recommendations, definitely comment down below, and thanks for watching. Bye! See you next week!